Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to tell you the story of probably the craziest camping trip I have ever experienced and will ever experience. But before I start telling you the story, there's some information that you need to know to understand what happened in the story. See, I'm part of Boy Scouts, and with the Boy Scouts, we go on one camping trip once every month. And so in February, we have this camping trip called Winter Trek. And basically how it works is you drag this sled into the campsite. It's like a mile and a half. And so we get to the campsite, and there's like a good solid 4 inches of snow on the ground. Not much, but a good amount. So the hike's, it's not a big struggle. And so we get to camp, and everybody starts setting up their tents, except for me, because me and 2 of my friends one of them says, it's alright, my tent can hold 3 people. So I'm like, okay, I won't set up my tent, that's a lot of work, I don't want to do it. So, and we see the 4 inches of snow on the ground, and we're like, what would be cool? What if we built an igloo, and we slept in the igloo? Because on the last winter trek, some people built an igloo, and it was super cool, so we're like, we should do that. And so, we start building the igloo, and 4 inches of snow is relatively not that much snow, so we're like an hour in, and it's like a foot high, no, like 2 feet high, but it's not that big. So we're like, okay, if we keep going at this rate, we're not gonna finish. So we get some of our friends to help do it. At the end, we have like 7 or 8 people working on it, and we get all the snow within like 20 feet of this igloo, and we're like, okay, this is pretty big. And so it's pretty late at this point, and so we have to eat dinner, and then we do some games. We have a fire, just a lot of shenanigans. It was a lot of fun. And my 2 other friends are like, this is not big enough for 3 people. This isn't even big enough for 1 person. And I'm like, this is plenty big for 3 people. So we all cramp ourselves into this igloo, and 3 of us, and it's not big enough for 3 people. Big enough for even 1 person. So we're bumping into the walls, into the ceiling, and we're knocking down all the snow. And both my friends are like, this is not gonna work. And so they get out and they leave. And I'm still here, and I'm like, this is gonna work. And it doesn't work. So I'm here, I'm covered in snow now at this point, and my body heat is starting to melt the snow, and so I'm starting to get wet. And when you're wet and it's cold out, it's a recipe for disaster. So I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So I climb out of the igloo, and at this point, I have nothing on my feet. No shoes, no socks, because I don't sleep in those things. I don't know who does, that's weird. And so I go over to my friend's tent, because earlier, he said that I could fit 3 people. And I open it up, and it can't fit 3 people. It can only fit 2 people. So I'm like, and I try to squeeze in there, but it's just not working. So then I leave, and I go back over to my tent, except I don't have a tent set up. And at this point, my feet are really starting to get cold. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go find my boots. And I don't know where my headlamp is. And so I can't see my hand in front of my face. So I go, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't find anything. I'm freezing. And I'm only in my pajamas at this point, so I'm like really cold. It's like 10 degrees out. No, it's less than 10 degrees out. It's probably below 0. It's freezing. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And so my survival instincts kick in at this point, and I'm like, what are the things that you need for survival? And I remember, like, this list that we have. It's like, you need water, food, shelter. Those are, like, the most important things. And I'm like, I have water, I have food, so I need a shelter. So I go, and I start groping around. I find my tent, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I take the tent out, and I start setting it up. It's all, like, folded over on itself like a blanket at 3 in the morning. But eventually, I get it out, I put my poles in it, and my poles keep falling out. It's really hard to set up. But after a while, I do manage to set it up, and then I go looking around, can't find my rain fly. Basically, a rain fly is this thing, if you don't know. It keeps, like, snow, rain, wind out of your tent, and you really need it, because it was kind of snowing at this point. And so I go, and I find that, I throw it on top of my thing, and there's 4 clips on it, and you have to, like, line it up perfectly, to be able to use it, and it takes, like, a long time for me to get that on. And at this point, my feet, like, feel like they're gonna fall off. I'm freezing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. But Eventually, I get it all set up, and I throw my stuff in there, my sleeping pad, my sleeping bag, all my stuff that I need, my pillow, and I climb in my sleeping bag, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm alive. That's all that matters. So then I just fall asleep instantly. That was pretty crazy. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and normally I would ask you to like and subscribe, but I want you to go, there's a video linked in the description, I want you to go watch that. It's a banger, and if you want to know where I get my music, there's also a link for that in the description. See ya!